good to go, sir. How are you doing, Tristan?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. It's evening right now in Arizona, right?
It's evening in Arizona. Tell people where you're at right now.
I'm in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, so the capital city of Malaysia. In sunny and rainy Southeast Asia.
Is it your rainy season right now?
It's rainy season on the East Coast. It just ended. There were massive floods. But right now it's pretty sunny.
Nice. Yeah, it's been very sunny here. So I hate telling the people that I know who are in like the Texas, Oklahoma area going through all that
Yeah,
snow right now.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's expected to be 79 tomorrow.
Oh, that's hot. I only know Celsius, so I'm actually not sure how hot that is in Fahrenheit.
Yes. So it's I don't even know either. I just only know Fahrenheit. That's right. So it's warm. For a February, it's pretty warm, but it's Arizona.
Okay.
We're desert. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm, as you know or may not know, I'm doing a new segment on the channel, talking to different collectors from all over the world, and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of talking about how they got in the hobby of wrestling cards, what their market's like in their area. And so, for someone like you, I mean, how long have you been collecting?
Well, I was a soccer card collector first. That was the side of hobby that I dipped myself into quite recently, in fact. Probably in 2019 when I got really seriously into it. Started with match attacks, which the equivalent in wrestling is slam attacks.
Yes.
So maybe I
Are
should just give a little bit.
slam attacks popular there?
Not in Malaysia. They're not released in Malaysia.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so maybe I should actually just give like a background of the collecting scene in Malaysia as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Malaysia is a former British colony, right? So we share a lot of things in common, not just in terms of like culture, education, our legal system. Almost everything is borrowed from the UK, and that also includes how we collect. So here in Malaysia, we are set collectors mainly. And the only set that's available here in Malaysia, like widely available in stores, is Mesh Attacks. Because I mean, soccer is basically, it blows everything else out of the water in terms of like viewership and fandom. Like above everything else, soccer is number one. Um, Wrestling has a very small niche, and even within that wrestling niche, trading cards is even smaller. Uh,
That's kind of the norm though for wrestling. Period.
yeah,
Everywhere though, I think that's the kind of the norm for everything in every genre. And you get
yeah,
into baseball or football or soccer. I think people
yeah,
collect jerseys and they collect action figures and they collect things. And
yeah,
trading cards falls to the bottom.
yeah. So it's the same thing here in Malaysia as well. And even like premium cars, like right now, what we're seeing with wrestling, in terms of like autos, relics, patches, this is still basically new territory for a lot of like wrestling fans in Malaysia. Most wrestling fans in Malaysia, they collect like Funko Pops.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They go to WrestleMania, but that's basically and they watch the WWE network. But in terms of wrestling cards, that's something that's pretty alien to most of them. Like, I can basically count on one hand the number of people I know who actually collect wrestling cards here in Malaysia, and that's just because of how expensive the hobby is. The American dollar is like 4 times stronger than ours. So something that is like probably like that is $10 to you guys, we would probably have to take a bit of a pause before we buy anything. That's
Wow.
not to mention the fact that we have to ship it all the way from the United States here to Malaysia. So before we had all these like shipping proxy sites, we had to, yeah. So shipping fees were like what, $20, $15, $10. So it adds up, you know. We couldn't consolidate our purchases. It was all these like single one-off purchases, and it gets really expensive.
Hmm.
But right now with box breaks getting popular, we have a couple of local box breakers here as well, and one of them also brings in retail and hobby products from the United States. So whenever we have like that ripping itch, we can just go to him. But in terms of an actual hobby store here in Malaysia, there's none that we hear of. We have like pop-up kiosks, we have like breakers, but there isn't really a hobby store. They basically disappeared.
So
We have
there were hobby stores before.
There were hobby stores before for sports cards. I mean, there's still hobby stores now, but they are catered towards trading card players. Sorry, the playing card genre
So,
of
so
the hobby.
CCGs and TCGs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like Pokemon,
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, yeah, those are still popular here, and those shops are still thriving. But in terms of like sports, we don't really have it here.
Interesting. Do they have any card shows? Does anybody ever do card shows?
No, we don't do card shows. I mean,
No.
there's always talk in our neighboring countries of doing one, like especially in Thailand. But nothing has really come up yet.
Interesting. It seems to be more of an American thing here. I talked to someone last week, a few days ago from the UK, and they don't have any card shows there either.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting because I mean, there's a card show going on somewhere in this area at least every other week.
Yeah, I'm seeing like card shows happening in the United States for baseball, even in the middle of a pandemic. So
Oh yeah,
that's crazy to us. Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a very popular one. I mean, I don't know all the different places. America's a big country, so but
yeah,
I'm from Southern California, and
yeah.
in that area we had it's still there. We had a place there called Frank and Son Collectible Show, and it's
Okay.
open every Wednesday and every Saturday, free parking, free admission. It was they moved now. I haven't been to the new location, but for years it was in this 60,000 square foot warehouse
Yeah,
of like 200 plus dealers that you can go to anytime you want every week, selling
yeah,
everything from trading cards to action figures to comic books to, I mean, you name it, they had everything there. They even
yeah,
had a McDonald's um, booth that had all the old toys from McDonald's
yeah.
packages that you can go buy.
Yeah, here in Malaysia, we have flea markets that sell antiques at way above, what they are really valued at. I went to Australia, and when it comes to thrifting, like that's where real thrifting is. But here in Malaysia, everybody knows about comps. So
Uh,
fat chance of getting anything like at finding bargains here in Malaysia. But it's kind of bittersweet being in Malaysia. Like on one hand, we don't have the access that you guys have to the hobby in terms of those card shows and those hobby stores and
mm,
the huge conventions like the national.
sure.
But on the other hand, it's pretty light. It's pretty light on the wallet, so we don't overburden ourselves.
Yeah, you can't feed the addiction as much that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so then, other than obviously you use eBay, I'm assuming then too.
yes.
So other than eBay, are there any other sources that you can buy your stuff besides your breaker and eBay?
Well, here in Malaysia and in fact, like many parts of Europe, Facebook is still the popular social media. I think US as well. When it
Yeah.
comes to wrestling cards, Facebook groups are basically like the be all and end all. I know there's a blow up forum, there are discords and Twitter and Instagram,
Hmm.
but when it comes to the real sense of community, when it comes to like actual regularity of sales, you can't really beat Facebook. So
Do you have any
I
popular?
joined.
I mean, there's more than one of them. Do you have popular ones that you like to go to, and what are they?
I try to limit them because I'm trying to limit my spending as well.
You put
so
yourself
so
you
that,
put
that
yourself on a
that's
diet.
yeah, putting myself on diet because I mean I collect so many other sports. If I'm going all in on wrestling as well, I mean I should probably divorce my wife.
So but other than wrestling, then you do soccer, and then
I do basically almost everything because I mean
really,
before wrestling I'm a sports fan as well. So like tennis, golf, hockey, baseball. I'm basically anything competitive. I just dive right in. I mean, I also did a stint as a sports reporter as well, covering motorsport, covering racket sports. Those are really popular here in Malaysia. So basically it's just right. This side of hobby is just extension of my passion, basically.
uh, great. So with wrestling cards, then I guess you must have discovered WTC relatively new, like
Yeah,
recently.
it's quite new as well because I got into soccer cards in 2019, and then I've been always been aware of wrestling cards, but never really bought any or really dove into that side of the hobby. It was only like mid last year, probably the worst time to enter the hobby with the pandemic going around.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I just bought a few for the PC.
So what made you want to get into wrestling after all these years? Then it's been, I mean,
Um,
it's been around forever. You knew about it, but now you're
yeah,
getting into it.
I think I dove into it quite recently as well. When I was a kid, I grew up with WWE, and basically that's the only thing that everybody knew here in Malaysia. back before back before social media proliferated the way it is now. WWE was on free-to-air television. It was on our satellite television. It was all there is before TNA came to the picture. And so my wrestling worldview was limited to that. That was all I knew wrestling was to be. You had 20-minute long promos followed by the heavyweights squashing the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. Some things haven't changed from then. You know, so I was heavily into that, probably like the Attitude Era, and then the Triple H Reign of Terror. Into going to high school, and certain priorities going away. I took a break from wrestling, and then in around circa 2016, I got really heavily into Reddit. I found out all these other groups, and I found Squared Circle, the main sub for wrestling on Reddit, and a new world opened up to me. Like, wow, okay, there's pro wrestling, there's Japanese wrestling, there's so many different promotions all over the world. Yeah.
You get into this, you start learning that there's these promotions that are all over the world, and all of them seem to eventually, or at some point in time, have gone and made trading cards. And so I remember back when I first started WTC, I thought that, oh, I've got everything. I got everything archived. I've got it all. It's all done. And then I was like, no, barely even touch the scratch the surface. I just scratched the surface, man. It was insane. But so you're really, really new to like that. Then you just obviously did some Google searching and came across WTC.
Yeah. So I started following New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2016. So that's basically my main promotion, the main thing that I watch, besides some other Japanese promotions from time to time. I follow WWE. I don't actually actively watch it. I just basically I just whatever like episode summary every week. I probably just like have a glance through, just to have a feel of the storylines going into the PPVs. So when I got into the hobby, I mean, we have Cardboard Connection, we have Beckett, but I wanted something that really really did a deep dive into the wrestling card equation of the hobby. And besides yourself, Adam Galvan's site have been my main resources, my main go-tos basically to learn more. And the best way to basically learn more about hobby is just basically being immersed in the community. So like those Facebook groups that I mentioned, just you don't have to actively participate. You can just lurk and just learn from the other members and how the way they collect. And it's basically been quite a breath of fresh air compared to the basketball and baseball groups that I'm in.
Is it you? Do you notice a difference in the communities?
Yeah, there has been some difference. There is more hostility, I guess, in other sports.
Really?
Yeah, I think the scalping problem, the secondary market problem is way bigger in other sports. So you know, there's drama basically on an almost constant basis. You have the Vegas Dave versus Gary V controversy.
Yeah.
You know, you have all these celebrities going in, driving prices up. Logan Paul, you know, all these things. So I don't know, you know, there's a divide in the hobby for other sports, you know, between true collectors who want prices to stay the way as they are, and you also have investors who love seeing the prices go way up. Sure. And you also have people in between who are both collectors or investors, who appreciate the fact that their cards have gone up in value. I mean, because when I first joined this hobby, right, the reason why I got into it very late, even though I was a sports fan for way before, was because I thought premium cards were unreachable for me. When I was collecting Match Attacks, right, they were just like maybe $1 a pack or less than that. These are all just like base cards, gaming cards, basically. They all had gaming scores. And I thought that basically that was all I could stomach. It was only when I dove in the hobby, I found out, wait, you can get autograph cards for like what, $5, $3? What?
Yeah.
I mean, these are autographed by the athletes themselves. Like, how could they be so low?
I know.
You could get Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan autos for $30 on eBay before this. I don't know. I think right now the hobby is going through a market correction, and I think it's been a long time coming, because I don't believe that Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and all those other legend autos deserve to go for so low. I can get Ricky the Dragon Steamboat autos for like below $10.
I
I feel
know.
that's, I don't know. I think that's an insult to the wrestler.
It is. I
That's an
think
insult to the man.
it's almost criminal. It really is.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. It's nice to see that wrestling cards are kind of getting, what they deserve, kind of thing.
yeah,
It's I'm kind of in the middle myself. I'm an old collector who's now, kind of getting more on an investing side now.
yeah,
Because I personally I don't have the drive to collect anymore. For me personally, I've talked about this many times before. So I have a lot of stuff. I want to unload things. I have some goals I want to reach, personally. And
yeah.
if the wrestling cards that I invested in for so many years are going to get me to that goal, so be it. But we're going to be doing some more updates. So I know you're probably not using the site for new stuff because we have no new stuff there. So, but we're going to be doing some updates here soon. So that's the whole point of
Yeah.
having the Kevin Nash card to raise funds and stuff like that. But
Yeah. I
do
mean,
you
like
own?
everything else, like
Huh?
everything else, the hobby has evolved. You have to basically, so I mean, you have to go with it. You have to evolve the way you collect.
Yep.
Like I know basically in the wrestling community, right? They collect printing plates. They collect rainbows, way much more than the sports community does. Printing plates will usually go for like pennies to the dollar in the sports card world, and nobody really wants to collect those. But in wrestling, it seems like once you have these people who have superstar PCs and they want to collect everything, like the base, the relics, the autos, basically the whole thing. Just
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. It's when I
So I
got in
think
I got
with
that in the
prices being the way
2020.
they are,
Yeah.
yeah, you should basically like narrow your PC. You should basically like get smarter about the way you collect.
Absolutely. I mean, Zan and I have talked about this before in a couple episodes. We have a podcast for Worlds Collide that we discuss, how to collect and different ways to collect. And there's wrestling allows you so many, and I guess other sports do too, allows you so many different avenues you can go down. I could just be, a Roman Reigns fan. All I want to collect is Roman
Yeah,
Reigns stuff, or all I
yeah,
collect is base sets, or I collect is parallels, or just autographs, or there's so many different ways to go about it. So
yeah,
it's fun. It's fun to see what people, and I have joined one of those Facebook groups I think we were talking about earlier,
yeah,
and you could see people making their posts who are like, I'm a Becky Lynch fanatic, and I just have boom all my Becky Lynch stuff, and I'm
yeah,
this fanatic, I just have all this stuff, and it's so cool to see all the cool things that they have.
yeah,
Um, and then they're trying to, hey, I'm looking for that one of one. If you got it, I want it.
yeah. It's a very supportive community. I mean, I feel that it's like not that the other communities have not been supportive, but I feel that it's much more tighter knit in the wrestling community than any other.
It's definitely
You have
smaller.
members, yeah, it's smaller too, so they know each other. It's everybody knows each other. Everybody basically remembers each other's PC. When they see something made available on other sites, they actually alert those members to it. Yeah.
So speaking of everybody's, PC, yours, do you have a favorite piece that you own?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, I'm basically heavily into the Japanese pro wrestling side, especially New Japan Pro Wrestling. One of the first cards that I bought actually was from Alan Ginter, basically Tiger Mask.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my extent of Japanese wrestling, I know that basically Tops has the WWE license now, Pack, and Leaf also occasionally features Japanese wrestlers.
Mhm.
So this was the first time that there was a Japanese wrestler in like a mainstream release, Ellen Ginter. So when I saw this, coupled with the art that was in it, I was just a big fan, and this was the first card that I ever bought.
So is that just a standard one or a numbered version or?
It's just the base.
Okay.
That was all, as much as I can afford at that time.
Yeah.
So it's the order of the first Tiger Mask. So
Oh, so, I mean, a
Satoru
lot of times
Toyson.
a person's favorite piece doesn't mean it has to be expensive. So it's just,
Yeah, yeah,
a favorite piece. Is
yeah.
there,
So
is there a card, or there's something that you don't own, or that you, I don't know, is there something, maybe something either you own or that you
yeah.
would love to own that's recently exclusive in your country at all?
In my country, no. We have a wrestling promotion here, but in terms of merchandise, is the usual. You have photos,
Sure.
you have shirts. That's basically the bread and butter of wrestling, right? Shirts. But in terms of cards, no, we don't really have that.
Okay. Anything that you're You're eyeballing that. You're looking to get in your collection one day.
Yeah, like in Japan, like BBM is like the tops there. So they release every year. They have this annual set. It's called Infinity. And so in years past, they had Okada, they had Tanahashi, and I think last year they had basically all members of Los Ingobernables. So I'm trying to complete that set.
Nice.
Yeah,
Is it proven to be pretty hard? I mean, even though you're
it
on that
is.
side of the world, you probably have
Yeah,
better access than someone like me over here then, right?
yeah. The thing about Japan is that everything is so much more expensive there, way much more than the United States. Um, and it's pretty restrictive as well to buy from there because the main buying site there is Yahoo Japan Auctions, and you need a Japanese phone number to buy from there. So you need to use buying proxy sites, and those charge quite a sizable fee as well. So you need quite a big outlay of cash before you start dipping into the Japanese side of things.
Or you find
But
yourself a
yeah,
friend who lives in Japan.
yeah,
Find yourself a friend who lives there.
yeah. But even the cards themselves are so much more expensive. I mean, if you go on eBay and you look for Japanese cards there, right? They are going for like hundreds, even for like, I mean, not to be rude, but no-name wrestlers as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So you have you have the Joshi side of things. You have BBM Ambitious. You have BBM True Heart. And realistically, those cards should just be around the $10 to $20 range, but they're selling for about $200 on
Oh my
eBay.
goodness.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to come by stuff like that. Like when I was in Southern California, there's a store there called the Wrestling Guy store,
Yeah.
and they had Stardom came out and did a tour of Southern California, and they had left behind some packs of cards at the store, and they go, well, we don't sell the cards. If you want them, you can have them. So I took them, and
Okay.
I was really impressed with the stuff they had. Like, I had stuff like, I pulled one of those.
Okay. Cool.
So, and I love these cards. I mean, the quality of the cards are great.
Yeah.
I just loved them. I pulled a bunch of good stuff out of there. I think I had 38 packs. Out of 38 packs, I pulled maybe 30 autographs.
Yeah, I mean
It
the
was
pull odds are
incredible.
so much greater, and like you see in that card you just brought up of Jungle Kiona, they really add their personality to each card.
Yes. Yeah, because
I mean
and you have variations of it too. Like,
yeah,
this is the more common format is this way.
yeah,
But then on occasion you'll have like, she'll draw a little star,
yeah. You'll find that actually wrestlers, that's the thing I like much more about wrestling is that because they are so used, I don't know, they are so used to signing autographs that they are much more, they have better signatures and they put much more effort,
maybe on
way much
the
more than
Japanese
basketball
market,
athletes.
probably maybe those,
Yeah,
but not in tops, man. Have you seen those? RR for Roman Reigns, SR
yeah.
for, I mean, that's like
I've seen the tick by Velveteen, right? It's
yeah,
just a tick.
yes, just a
Yeah,
tick. That's it.
yeah. But I
Actually,
mean,
and then somebody tweeted the other day, I saw that said that made Velveteen Dreams signature look really good. It was just a straight line down. It was just a line.
yeah,
That's all it
yeah.
was. That was her signature. This,
But
I
it's
sent them all back.
it's so much more negligible in the basketball world. I mean, have you seen Cam Reddish's
They're just
signature?
they're horrible.
Yeah, they're horrible. And then in baseball, right? With all those prospects coming off the Dominican Republic, um, some of them, they can't even speak English. So to expect them to sign like 500, 1,000 autographs, they just basically just writing down their names. I mean, have you
Yeah.
seen Baron Laura's
Yes.
signature?
They just
It's basically just
they're almost
yeah.
printed. That's it. It's just like
Yeah,
print.
they're almost printed. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just you can tell they're just writing each letter,
Yep.
painstakingly writing each letter one by one.
Takes them a whole week to sign all those cards too.
Yeah, yeah,
Or you could be like, I went to a book signing to go meet Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, and I
yeah,
thought, oh, great, because you get an autograph. That's how they
yeah.
advertise. You get it autographed. It wasn't
Yeah.
an autograph. You got to meet him. You couldn't take a picture with him either. You got to meet
Okay,
him, and all it was a stamp. They stamped it, a book. That was it. That was the autograph.
okay, yeah, okay.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a live meet and greet, you should be able to have something signed on the spot, right? And even if they want to do that stamping kind of thing, they could have done it like way beforehand and just like distributed it. They
Sure.
don't have to let us know.
Yeah, it would have been better that way, I think. When I
Yeah,
watch them go, chung I go, that's disappointing.
yeah, yeah.
Unlike,
Never meet your
when
heroes.
I went to Triple H's book signing tour for that book that he
Yeah.
put out, at the time it was like for every book that you bought, you can get an additional item of yours signed. So I'd see
Okay.
guys in line with like, 10, 15 books they bought. So they can get 10, 15 items signed. I
Yeah.
myself bought 6 books. Only because 4 of those were for somebody, other people who said, "Hey, I can't go. Can you get me
Yeah.
one?" And then give me my item sign. I said, "Well, okay." And so I still have mine, but he would sign it right there for you at least, and you could
Yeah.
take a picture with him too. So,
I
but
mean, I mean that's okay. I mean, because it's basically an event made for signing. I mean, you're not one of those fans who stop wrestlers at airports, right?
no, I'm not. But I will tell you, we were my buddy and I, David, the co-owner of WTC.
Yeah.
We would oftentimes go to the events and go to find out where they would come in and out of, so we can get autographs from them.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
were autograph secret, but it was just for our PC. That was it.
Yeah.
We had no intention of doing anything else with it. So we had a lot of fun doing that. And over the years, it's weird to think that over the years of doing that with him, and then here it is years later, I work with a lot of these people doing signings with them, where
Yeah.
I book them for events and we go and we do these different conventions like that. So it's just
Yeah.
so weird, back in 2001, meeting Kurt Angle at the E3 convention in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and Lita the next day, and then here it
Yeah.
was. Years later, I work with them.
Yeah, you're seeing them on screen, you're seeing them in your cardboard,
Yeah,
and right now you're working with them, like talking to them directly.
yeah. I can tell you the first time that I ever worked with Kevin Nash, it was kind of like, I can't believe I'm working with Kevin Nash. I mean, that was like 15
Yeah.
years ago, but I'm like, I'm working with this guy. I used to watch him on TV every single week. I had to see what NWO was doing, man. And I just, it's kind of a surreal thing for me. But yeah, these guys are a little more personable, but I think it's going across the whole hobby, all markets. These autograph cards are ridiculous, just little squiggles. My first
Mm.
experience seeing that was a Michelle McCool autograph, where it was just
Mhm.
MM. That was the first time I saw that. I go, God, I hope this doesn't become a trend. This seems to be
I
kind
mean,
of bad.
you can't really blame them, because I mean, first, a lot of the young athletes today, right? The art of cursive writing has basically disappeared from
Yeah,
curriculum.
that's very
No, no,
true.
nobody really does it anymore, and you have that counting the fact that besides the cards that they're being sent by Tops or BBM or wherever, they also have like through the mail autographs. They have like, all these like fan signings. It's
Oh, I
just
know.
it's just a lot, So I kind of understand from the wrestler's point of view with all the training and traveling that you have to do, and you have this side of the fan interaction as well. It can get a bit tiring. It can be
Sure.
exhausting, but yeah, that comes with the territory, right?
I think if if someone's paying me for my autograph, I think they deserve the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I got paid for it, so it's not like just someone just randomly got it at the airport. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's very interesting. I think one of the things I learned from talking with you then is having a lot of UK based stuff, because I forgot about that. Being
Yeah.
based in a culture that's kind of really from brought on for the UK, that you share a lot of things from there. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we basically borrowed almost everything that our education system, our legal system, the side of the road we drive on.
Really?
So yeah. So basically, like there are a lot of British expats here in Malaysia as well. We have a huge British influence. There are British schools, British businesses are like just abundant here in Malaysia. British wrestlers come here for holiday. I mean, we are one of the top like holiday destinations for the UK as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, so we borrow a lot from there as well.
Very cool,
But
man.
when it comes to the wrestling side of the hobby, no, we don't really have cards. We don't really have as many promotions as they do. They have Progress, they have RPW. We just have one here in Malaysia, and everything is just centered in the capital city. Like you'll be hard pressed to find anything hobby wise outside of this metropolitan area. Besides Mesh Attacks, because Mesh Attacks is actually sold right here in convenience stores. So that's the reason why it's like the go-to collectible for card collectors here in Malaysia, is because it's so widely accessible. You can just go to buy some smokes and also get a pack at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
But when
so
it comes to getting
I was talking to Jamie the other day. He said the same thing. You can buy those like at grocery stores, and
yeah
they're kind of rarely available. And the last year or so, they started adding autographs and relic cards inside those packs now too.
yeah
Is
yeah.
that the same thing? Is there too? Do they have autographs in the more recent releases of Slam Attacks?
We don't have that actually, because I think the autographs in Slam Attacks they only are in the UK releases.
Interesting. Okay.
So here in Malaysia, we don't have those as well. With Mesh Attacks as well, they also insert autographs. I think Tops right now, they've been putting more effort into basically all products. I think that's basically one of the good side things that have come out of this recent rise in the hobby. is that you're seeing manufacturers putting out more releases. You're seeing manufacturers also putting more goodies into products in which they usually overlook. So that's been a pretty good thing that's come out of this boom recently.
But I'm also seeing a lot more direct sales, like the Tops living sets and the Tops Now and things like that. So I mean, you have access to that as well, I assume, right? You have access to that as well.
I mean, basically, we collect the way that any other collector around the world does it. If we do not have a overseas address, then we have to have them shipped directly to Malaysia. So here we have to be a bit more discerning with our purchases. We're probably way much more than collectors in the United States do. Like you can have like drunken eBay purchases and have like 1,000 base cards arrive at your door the next day. We have to be a bit more careful about that. So we have smaller PCs.
Gotcha.
When it comes to buying boxes, right? We basically have to wait for like maybe 2 weeks, a month, maybe more, especially in terms of the pandemic going around right now.
Yeah, shipping
The
rates,
waiting
shipping times are very, very slow right now. And they're slow even within the United States. Make no mistake about that. You know, with a smaller staff of people working at the post office like that, people are out sick, people who have caught COVID. So, I mean, a letter that would normally take a few days to get to someplace are taking sometimes 2 weeks. You know, it's ridiculous.
So for people here who are into the premium side of things, other than slam attacks, for those who actually chase autographs or relics, you'll find that they are mostly single buyers. So they don't really buy boxes or packs to rip, since those are way much more prohibitive in terms of pricing, and you never know what you're gonna get in them. I'm a single guy myself. I mean, like, there's this like meme where basically like, you know, $100 Charizard, but there could be anything in the box. Maybe another $100 Charizard, right? So you know, if you have a card that you're chasing, you know, why not just buy it outright? It might be a bit more expensive, but if you're buying boxes and like hoping to hit them in breaks, I think you're gonna find that it adds up in the end, and they're gonna be way much more expensive than how much you're gonna spend on a single anyway.
Yeah, you got to kind of look at the box as being the manufacturer as being the house, and you're always playing on house money. So if you're
the only people who
gambling,
win are the breakers themselves.
Correct.
They are the only they're only people who actually escape unscathed. You know, every single time.
And they pocket little too.
Yeah.
So they're not losing out for sure.
The standard is like what, 30% markup? I mean, that's pretty sweet.
Usually, 30% is usually
30% markup on top of secondary market pricing. Yeah. Especially if they pre-order. I mean, like, manufacturers have all these like products at like what, 60 to 70% off retail pricing. So if you buy a box at $60, it comes out on tops.com at $100, and then it goes on the secondary market for like what, 200. They charge based on the 200.
Yep. I sure do, even though they bought it 60, $70.
Yeah.
It's
but you know,
incredible.
they have a business, and that's just the way it works. I don't blame them. Like, they are a business after all. They have to make money, and if it is not the way it works, they will have pursued other things.
Yep. That's why there's so many different ways to collect. So you got to go with what fits your budget.
Yeah.
What you're willing to do. You know, if you're willing to go ahead and, you know, roll the dice and throw it out there for a $200 box, you know, good on you.
I mean, it makes much more sense for the other sports like basketball or soccer right now, and American football, because you can always hit something that could retire, you know, basically give you retirement. You know, you could hit like $100,000 Zion RPA,
sure,
and you can stop working. You know, but when it comes to wrestling, I don't think we've reached that point where you know, I'm gonna spend like $100 on a wrestling card break, because I mean, the cards that they're coming out of there, they're still rising. The only cards that are valuable are basically like legends, or basically the main eventers. But as you go like lower down the totem pole, you can't even give them away sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It's we've had conversation in the past, like, you know, the current crop of talent right now, you know, who do we see in 15, 20 years from now being somebody you should be investing in? So there's a mixed, you know, opinions on who, you know, you should probably invest your money in if you want to collect something more modern. But yeah, you know, your Hogans, your Flairs, your Andres, even going into the more like attitude area, you got your, you know, your Rocks and Stone Colds and stuff like that. You know, I think stuff like you know, Triple H and Shawn Michaels don't get the love they deserve. You know, when it comes to the hobby, they should be a little more high priced. But you know, it's whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, that's how different it is from other sports as well. Because I think other sports, you have they are much more speculation driven, based on the athlete's performance, and it's
Well, that's
basically
100%. I've told my wife
yeah,
that it's like a stock market really in that sense because
yeah,
you may have your star running back who rushes, he's a star running back, so, and he goes out
yeah,
with an injury. They get some guy you never even heard of before comes in and has an incredible game.
yeah,
Rushes for 200 something yards like that. All of a sudden like, who is this guy? I got to buy his stuff.
yeah.
It's just every week it's something different.
There is less of rookie or star chasing in wrestling, I believe, because I mean, it's not just in terms of performance, but your place in the spotlight can change based on the whims of the promoter, right? I
Correct.
mean, Aleister Black was so popular in NXT. He came up to the main roster, and where is he right now? You have this happening basically with almost every call up. Remember Sanity? Remember
Oh
Otis?
yeah. Hell, even recently, Keith Lee, he was great, and
Yeah,
and
he
all of a
was
sudden he
great.
got called up, and now what?
Now he's being put in like throwaway matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's way much more how I would say, like, dangerous speculating in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like you're just basically speculating based on Vince McMahon's mood, on any given day.
That's true.
Yeah,
Um,
your
are,
wrestler
are,
could probably sneeze in his presence and he could
do
get
you
offended.
watch or follow AEW? And if so, are you excited about the AEW trading cards coming out this year sometime?
Yeah, I've seen those. I personally am not a really big fan of the Young Bucks. I don't think their personality or style of wrestling really matches with mine. But I respect the hustle. And I do follow the storylines in AEW, but I don't actually actively watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one single match.
Yeah, I
I
see
follow.
clips. Yeah, I see clips that are shared on Twitter and Reddit sometimes. I remember when AEW was first being mooted, right? They said that they want to go for a more sports style presentation, and I thought they were going in that direction. But once I see the things that they've been putting out, it basically seems like another version of WWE, so which is basically not part of my watching appetite. That's the
Well, I
reason
mean,
why I
but they
gravitate
have
more
opened the
into
doors and they're working with different promotions. They're working with New
yeah,
Japan and they're working with
New Japan.
Impact and they're working with a lot of different companies now too. So
Yeah.
things are changing
So
a little bit
we'll see how
there.
it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I as a collector, I would think that people are probably interested, looking for something different. And I think
Mhm.
AEW, um, those trading cards are going to be very popular.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Especially if they come out in like especially their own release. But I think with like an upstart like AEW, some a promotion that's not really popular yet, that's not really a household name. I think definitely I see them being featured in something like Goodwin Champions at first.
that's what
Probably
that's
for a
what I
few
was thinking
years.
that when people
Yeah,
saw that it looks like Upper Deck's got the license and they saw those
yeah,
autographs being signed, someone mentioned that it could be part of that set possibly and not really
yeah.
Upper Deck has the license maybe. So there's no official announcement yet. So I'm curious, like everybody else is, to find out who the hell has this license.
Yeah, I don't think they're really big enough. I don't think they have a sizable audience that support a standalone release. I think they should just give it a few years in Goodwin Champions, or maybe even on demand like Upper Deck EPAC, before they really dive into having their own hobby boxes.
Not a bad idea, actually. That's a good call on that. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe that's the direction they are going because they haven't announced that they're going to be having their own release. They just said there's going
Yeah,
to be trading cards this year for
yeah,
AEW. In what form? Nobody really knows yet.
yeah. Who knows? I mean, with the release of these Upper Deck cards, right? Those cards from All In could be shooting up in value very soon.
Yeah, they're already kind of going up already, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And
But there's always the opportunity to go even more,
yeah,
like those Cardinal rocks.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, someone. That's a whole different topic right there. We can go on and on about that. But this is cool, man. I appreciate you giving me some time to talk about your market and find out what's going on out there.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of hoping to tap into all the continents, hopefully, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
find out what people are collecting, how they're collecting, what's popular there, what the market's like. I'm starting to see a little bit of a trend after two segments so far. A little trend of, I guess, the card shows and shops are more of a U.S. thing than anywhere else, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
But I appreciate your time, man. I really do. I appreciate you coming on, and I know it's time difference is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, we scheduled this at a good time, so it's just approaching like lunchtime right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Great. Well, Tristan, I really appreciate your time and thank you for coming on.
thanks for having me.
Man. I'll talk to you soon.